You are now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And let's go ahead and start this episode by saying spoilers. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. We were just talking off camera about, is it even available to watch yet? It is on DVD, or Walmart put it out illegally. But we are going to be talking about A24's highest rated horror film so far, which is 2023's Talk to Me. That being their highest rated horror film is kind of wild to me, as some of the great films that they've put out that I love. It sits currently at 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's 82% audience score. The only ones directly behind it are X and Pearl. I think they were like around 93%. So people like this film more than X and Pearl. I'm not one of those people. So the movie involves a group of friends as they discover how to conjure spirits with an embalmed hand. I mean, right off the bat, what could possibly go wrong with that scenario? Hey, you got an embalmed hand? Cool. First of all, I think they missed a golden opportunity to call this movie Talk to the Hand, but maybe that would have been a little too silly. Maybe the Wayans brothers can make it known, like Talk to the Hand. But I didn't like this movie. I've only watched it once, and I owe it another watch. I 100% do, and I will. But this is all going to be going off one viewing for me, and it was a couple weeks ago. My biggest issue with this film is the hype that came with it. And hype can ruin movies for me just as bad as, shitty dialogue, terrible acting. This movie was hyped up by everybody I knew. It was on Facebook, it was on Instagram, word of mouth. Like, everybody like, you've got to see this. This movie's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I'm like, was it? Was it so good? It's weird being in John and Kellen's place for this movie, like being the negative one. But is it a good movie? Yeah, it's fine. It didn't break any ground for me. Like it didn't go any new places. It didn't do anything new. It didn't surprise me. Honestly, I got slightly bored. I think, okay, we're going to do the same thing. Let's talk this hand. Oh shit, I'm possessed. Let's do it again next time. They just keep going in this cycle. What the hell do they think is going to happen? So eventually they get possessed, and you can only stay under for so long in this state, or I think it takes you over. I'm just dumb kids doing dumb things in Australia. But again, I don't think it's a terrible movie, but all you out there listening to this made it sound like it was fucking fantastic, and it's not. And I'm pissed at you more than I'm pissed at the movie. I'm also mad that it's A24's highest rated horror film, because we can go down the list of all the other ones that are better than this one, in my opinion, and probably some of you guys too. Pearl and X, the prime examples, like they're right behind it, but those are better movies to me, like light years. Like when X and Pearl came out on DVD, I was there to buy it. Talk to Me, I saw last week whenever it came out, and I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I don't know if I want to own it, but I definitely want to wait. So to me, that's the impact it left on me. And like I said, I will watch it again, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get into it. And again, I just think it's that in the back of my mind, I'm hearing all these things good about it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this and it's going to blow my mind. I'm like, oh my God, have you guys seen this? I'm going to order the hand to put on my desk. Like all these things I thought were going to happen never happened for me. I didn't like some of the actors and actresses in the film. They were a little off-putting to me. And even though it's been a couple of weeks since I've watched this, I also feel like none of them were likable. Maybe one or two had moments where you're like, yeah, I can root for them, but I was never really rooting for any of them either. And that's always hard for me to watch a movie when I'm not rooting for someone. I was probably rooting for the hand more than anybody else. But I got that off my chest. So that's me. We'll get around later to my rankings. This could have been an Insidious movie. Just make it Insidious 6, The Hand, or whatever the hell you want to talk to, because that's the vibes I got from it. And, the Insidious movies, they start up, great. And then they go down. This would just be a continuation of this for me. This was better than The Red Door. Was that the last one? This one was better than that, but I just felt, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'm usually the guy who likes everything, so being on the opposite end is kind of hard to put into words. But for whatever reason, the hype, whatever it is, this movie just did not do it for me. So that's me. Who's next? We already
Me,
forgot
John.
who's next.
John.
I guess
we already forgot who's next. We talked about it.
Yeah, talk to me. Two big fart noises on that one. That's what I think of Talk to Me. I watched it months ago, or whenever it was. No, it wasn't months ago. It was probably not that long ago. And then I watched it today again as a rewatch. Didn't like it the first time. Illegally. I did watch illegally both times. Pirate.
Pirate.
I know. So the second time I started it, and within like 25-30 minutes I was bored as shit. It was like, this movie is boring as shit. There's like nothing happening. They're messing around, they're playing get possessed by the demon and be a stupid TikTok Gen Z kid for like an hour, and then someone goes to the hospital, and then some shit happens. Like, nothing really happens. Okay, so this is my problem with this movie. The acting is fine. It's shot really well. Everything technically for being a film, mostly it's fine. The script is dumb as hell. They clearly wanted to make a movie about drugs. They wanted to make a metaphor about drug use. Why not just make a movie about drugs? You don't have to do this. This movie was, if you ever watched the show Euphoria, which is a great show, I recommend it. It's very hard to watch, tremendous show. This movie is basically Euphoria if Euphoria was written shitty. That's kind of what this is. It's like, it's just not as good as Euphoria. So if you really want to see this, just go watch Euphoria, because they tackle all these type of things in a much better nuanced, intelligent way. I promise. This was made by Raka Raka, is the YouTube group. And I'm not surprised, because this seems like the kind of crap that Logan Paul or Jake Paul or any of these YouTubers would do like that. It just seems like something that they thought would be cool because, like, they watched Flatliners and then they thought about drug use and they thought, let me put these two together and make this movie. Everything in this is just, it really boggles my mind. I agree with what you said, Jay. The characters are unlikable. It's overhyped. There's just not a lot going on in the movie. It is creepy. I'll give you that. There are some creepy moments with the possession. The possession is creepy. I will give them that. They did good with that. But no kid acts this way. There's nothing about this that's plausible. There is no group of kids on the planet Earth in the fucking universe that would do this ever under any circumstance. So this goes back to like any kind of like writing or characters, right? You take the material seriously. You put yourself in an implausible scenario, but you take yourself seriously. When the characters start acting like idiots, you immediately come out of it. That's how I felt with this. I felt it's not about the fact that they're getting possessed. It's not about any of that. It's just that they act like an idiot. Now, just like Men, if this movie was a comic book or something, it may work, because when you're doing something like that in that art form, you can sort of tell a different story in a way that you want. You can give a lot of different narratives, and you can sort of really make it compelling and really show a lot of things that you can't always do in film. So I think like what they were trying to do here might have nailed it. Might have been a little bit better if they would have just done with the comic. Like that probably would have worked better, because I've seen a lot of comics like this where, you know, I read them, I look at them, and I'm like, yeah, it would be hard to do that as a film, right? This is the same kind of thing. Yeah, I just couldn't even finish it. Like I got through, I watched it the first time. The second time I got halfway, I just started fast forwarding through it. I was like, oh, this is so boring. I can't do this again. Even the beginning, like this one scene, I remember watching this. So the girl is driving with the her friend's younger brother in the car. They see a kangaroo hurt. So she gets to the kangaroo, she gets out, she gets back in the car, and he's like, we can't leave it. So he starts to drive the car up to the kangaroo. She starts to drive the car to the kangaroo, and like she's gonna run it over. And I'm like, that was her merciful killing, is to run a kangaroo over with a car. Like,
slowly.
Yes.
She didn't like reverse it and go. She's like,
so stupid. I mean, I just can't even. I don't know. I don't know how much more I can say about this other than just it's overrated, it's overhyped. The script is terrible. It's illogical. It's stupid. There's just so many things. This movie, when I was thinking about this today, I realized this movie made me rethink how I felt about Terrifier. I look now back on Terrifier 2 and I thought, you know what? That's a 3 out of 5 for me or better. That movie is way better than this movie. It's not
those are strong words, sir.
So this movie has flipped me because I'm starting to see these films as I watch them, and I'm like, you know, I was harder on some of these movies than I need to be. This movie's worse. So
it would have been, you know, it should have been an episode of Creep Show, or like if they did Twilight, something like that, like a shorter segment in an anthology film or a show. That would have done better. And you know what else I just thought about that pissed me off about it too, besides everybody hyping it up? Do you know how I've seen this described everywhere? Elevated horror. Elevated horror. The only thing elevated is if you were high while you watched it. You're like, oh shit, this is great. That's the only elevated. How is this elevated horror?
Yep.
How?
It's not.
Because it's A24. They say, oh shit, A24's name's on this. This is elevated horror.
Well, I think the whole elevated horror thing comes in with just the allusion to how you could read it as an addiction thing, kind of like Babadook is dealing with grief and trauma, that kind of stuff.
Dumb.
Nah, I call bullshit.
Dumb. I think this is actually going to be the first unanimous disliked episode, unless TJ throws a curveball, because I didn't like this either.
TJ's going to throw a curveball.
Way to go, TJ. Way to ruin the bell curve. I honestly, I thought it started well. It was kind of vague as to what was going on. The guy stabbing his friend who's just trying to help him, you know, leading you to believe that he's probably possessed or is in some kind of possession. And then when he stabs himself in the face, that was pretty shocking. Then it's all downhill, just like the final scene. It's all downhill from there. To Jay's point earlier, no, I'll go a step further. Nobody in this movie is likable. And I think that's such a failure in writing, when you write your protagonist in a way that they're not likable. You think of, you know, some of the great final girls, you root for them. You want them to succeed. You know, your Neve Campbell's or Jamie Lee Curtis's, you want them to be victorious. You're invested in their journey. At no point in time did I feel empathy or sympathy for this girl that's supposed to be the protagonist of the film. Hannibal Lecter is a more likable character than anybody in this film. The guys that have the hand, which is kind of like a if somebody took W.W. Jacobs' The Monkey Paw and decided to write, how could we make this like the worst story possible and modernize it, this is what came out of it. The dead parent grief thing, and I feel like I'm repeating this every week almost now, is so overdone to me. It's such an easy plot device to create that emotional barrier that the person has to being normal. The main girl, that's her grief over her mom dying. She stabs her dad in the throat and is just like, oh, dang, dad's dead. Anyway, time to go kill my friend's little brother. I mean, I get she thought that he was, trying to kill her, but at that moment she should have realized, oh, I'm being played. But no, she just goes back on her mission. So I feel like as a plot device, that there's so many other things that they could do to make it more. Even the movie we watched, The Ritual. As much as I didn't enjoy that film, at least they tried to do something unique with the plot device of grief. Was it his fault or not? In this one, it's not her fault. It doesn't make me care about her as a character. If they were going to go the route of her mom trying to contact her through the hand and her grief, that should have been the main thing. after her first trip with the hand, it shouldn't have been her feeling almost euphoric afterward of like, oh my God, that was amazing. It should have been more like a light bulb goes off and it's like, I want to go again. And her trying to intentionally contact her mother from that point. Using it later as if her mom was trying to contact her felt cheaper somehow. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like if you're going to play on the grief card with her and use the mother as her main driving force for being the way that she is throughout the film, then that should have been a thought in her head sooner. She should have realized, oh, you can talk to the dead with this hand. I want to try to talk to my mom. And that could have been a better way to transition into her obsession with this hand that can reach into the afterlife.
Or
But
just
that-
have
that-
the
that
first
has been-
time that she does it, her mom is there, and just make that from the first time the arc of the story.
Yeah, and that would have been a better segue into the rest of the grief process for her, is if her whole obsession became trying to talk to her mom again,
I
which
agree
again
with
is
that.
overdone.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That was my point. I agree with that, but it is so overdone, and that's probably, I'm sure that was in their minds. They're like, well, let's try to mix it up slightly. Yeah, we got what, 2 Ouija movies. Everything involves someone trying to contact someone, in the afterlife. So
Yeah, which that's what this devolves into. So if you're going to devolve into that, then just make that the reason. That becomes a more believable plot than her enjoying talking to or having random dead people use her body. Another thing that I've noticed, and I guess it's just because I read a book recently called Leave the World Behind. It was like a award-winning book. It was a New York Times bestseller, and it had the same problem that I had with this movie, and it's the over-sexualization of people. You're dealing with the afterlife. You're seeing creepy, bloated, dead women right in front of you when you're talking to this hand. The last thing you're going to be thinking about in that moment is sex. I get the dead people are using her. It's the same in the book Leave the World Behind. Like they don't know what's going on. They're kind of secluded from everything, but every other paragraph in that movie has some kind of sexual reference. Even in this movie where she's sucking his foot, like I could imagine if it was, I mean, that's like fetish porn, like her with the whole foot in her mouth. So I don't get why, if she's that broken, why would they use the spirits to make her be overly sexual in those situations? It doesn't fit.
It's almost like something that some prankster YouTubers would make, right? Direct, which coincidentally, these are prankster YouTubers that made this movie.
And that perfectly fits, which in and of itself is a genre that has now become like shock jock radio was in the 90s. It's like now they're to the point to where nobody cares about the little pranks that they did that were fun. You've got to go over the top, like the prank video guy that got shot in the stomach harassing a food delivery guy in the mall. And that's where we're getting to, is to the point to where it's got to be so in your face and so uncomfortable, so that you get attention, and I don't enjoy that anyway. The whole punked, I mean, that was fun. You have friends that are dressing up and pretending to be somebody else, and they're trying to prank their friends. That's fun. When you're starting to get into the general public and just harassing people, I'm not here for that. But yeah, this movie, the premise was good. The idea was good. The execution was just horrendous from 5 minutes in to the end. Even the plot twist at the end was not even a twist. Like at no point did I not think that's what was going to happen to her. So yeah, this movie it was firing on all cylinders. Unfortunately, it was a 2-stroke engine. So
well, I think we've outlined most of the things we don't like about this movie.
only one direction to go, right?
Spoiler alert, I like this movie all right.
you would.
Now, I don't love it.
I'm pretty sure you're one of the ones that told me you got to see this movie. It was so
I
good.
probably was. I probably put it on the Facebook group. And here's the weird thing about it. Everybody likes what they like, and live and let live. But I don't disagree with any of the things that any of y'all said. This movie was super overly hyped, and I don't think it fully delivers on the hype. Just like almost nothing that's overly hyped ever does, really.
Except Terrifier 3, predicting the future. Terrifier 3 will exceed
The
our
people who
expectations.
love Terrifier will love Terrifier 3, and I'll probably even like it better than the first two, just because I
Or
like
my sweet
Christmas
mustache.
horror. That
Thank
does
you.
give me nightmares, and I will see that in my nightmares. Anyway, so yeah, for one thing, I didn't realize that this was an Australian movie. So when I went to see it in theaters the weekend it come out, and it's been a couple months since I've seen it. I've only seen it the once because of accessibility and my lack of tolerance for illegal streaming.
Shots fired.
But yeah, so that put me a little like I'm fine with foreign and even subtitle films and stuff, but it is a different culture over there, and even some of the ways that the kids were interacting and stuff, and like it was a kangaroo in the. I mean, they were obviously making very Australian cultural references and stuff. All
My first thought in the
film.
kangaroo scene, though, was, "What? Damn, that is an ugly ass deer." And then my brain pieced together what it was.
Yeah, well, the accents help. Like, oh, obviously these aren't. And then I always have the confusion of, is that a British accent or is that like an Australian or a Kiwi accent? And then sometimes it takes me a second to click in with, okay, what it is I'm actually watching. But so I was first jarred a little by that, because that was not part of any of the marketing. I thought this was just like suburban American kids doing whatever they do, idiot things apparently. But yeah, so some of its shortcomings are it takes a while to rev up, and all of the marketing you already knew about the hand and kind of what it does and all this stuff. They take like half an hour. The whole first act they really drag to even get to the action of it, and then they really linger. I feel like the weakest part of this whole film is the second act. The whole middle portion of the film, it just kind of meanders, because to I think Kellen's point, they don't really string together what you're going to be ending the film on. They don't really start to connect that until like the latter part of the second act, first part of the third act, really that last 30 minutes of the movie or so. It doesn't really start to even begin to go anywhere other than, let's just and I'm obviously addicted to doing this because it feels good and that kind of thing. And then we let the kid stay too long and now I'm guilty over that, but not enough to not keep doing it again because I want to connect with my dad, mom, so there are a lot of cliches kind of tied together and interwoven together, and they all just kind of pile up on each other. The thing that I do think, for me, they do kind of salvage it in the third act. I think this, to Jay's point, would have been a much better short film or a short segment in an anthology film. There's enough of an idea here to where this could have been like a really, really solid 30-minute or less, or like a really good 10 or 15-minute short film, if you just take all of the essence of what this could be at its best and just not linger a lot with it. We already know the concept, just get right down to it, and then tie some version of that ending together. This could be like a legendary 10-minute short film that could have went viral, could have done a lot of cool stuff. But there probably just wasn't enough meat on the bone of a story here to stretch out to, I think it's over 90 minutes, somewhere between 90 and 100 minutes, and that might not seem like a long movie for people that are used to over 2-hour movies now, or 2 hours and 18-minute Terrifier 2 movies, or whatever the case may be. But it makes a big difference when they're to I think everybody's point, there's not really. I mean, obviously they want Mia, the main girl, who becomes the quote unquote addict, right, to be the main protagonist, but she's not very likable. She's kind of a jerk to all of her friends. She's kind of the reason her friend's kid, who she's kind of like the surrogate aunt or whatever too, is basically going to hell and torment with these spirits that are possessed them. And it's really everything bad is all of her fault. And it is a little heavy-handed towards the end where they're trying to tie in the addiction thing. But at least by that point they're trying to do something and say something, even though it's not really in the subtext. It's just basically they're beating you over the head with it at a certain point. But that's better than not making any point at all, which is kind of how the first half of this movie starts to ramble for a little bit. But once that third act kicks into gear for me, I actually really did like. I thought the only logical conclusion for Mia, the main character, is she has to end up on the other side of that hand. Like once you give over to addiction fully, you got to see that to its nth degree. And the only way to do that is to see her have that be her undoing. And then now she's the one on the other side. She's fully given in to the addiction, and here it is. And, you could see it coming at a certain point, but I like that arc of that character. It was a little clunky getting there. And yes, some of the acting and the nonsensical things that the teenagers are doing. And maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe teenagers act a whole lot different in Australia, and I'm just not aware of what 2023 teenagers in Australia are up to. Maybe they all like to get together and do some weird shit with hands. I don't know. This might be something that happens over there. I don't. But
I think it is definitely something that happens.
Maybe it is, and maybe that's lost in translation. But having been a school teacher that taught teenagers, like, there's not one I would know that would even be anywhere near the house that was happening. As soon as that got out, the people were doing that, they'd be like, hell no, I'm not in that house. I ain't into that devil stuff. We're not conjuring stuff. But logic aside, clunky plot structure and whatnot, I think the idea of this thing with the hand is good. I mean, it is like a take on the monkey's paw. It's like careful what you wish for kind of thing. It's like anything where you're leaning into where you have to peer beyond the veil of our reality into the spirit world. There always has to be that allure, that pull to do so, but then also the price for doing so, right? All these classical folk tales and stuff all you have to pay the price, the pound of flesh. You have to reckon with whatever this thing is that's allowing you to peek behind the veil. It's not a free peep show kind of thing. You gotta pay the piper. So I think for the character, it makes the most sense for that ending. And the ending saved the movie for me. If they hadn't have ended the movie the way that they did, I would probably be just along with all of you guys and saying, did not deliver, not great. Having said that, I do think it did under-deliver on the hype for sure, because there's just no way it could have met the hype. And it structurally, it wasn't as solid a foundation, and if they hadn't have pulled together that linchpin ending as the final act, for me, it wouldn't have worked. But having said all that, and still liking it, okay, don't love it. I don't feel overly compelled to rewatch it again. Would I probably watch it again at some point? Yes, but I'm not rushing out to buy the DVD or the Blu-ray like some movies. And I think, honestly, the more I sat with this film and then got other people's feedback on it, my initial coming back from it, I think, was the high and the euphoria of really liking the way they tied together that ending. And once you divorce the ending from the entirety of the film, the rest of the film doesn't really hold up. So I think I had a little recency bias when I was first like telling people, yeah, go see this. I think it's worth a watch. I like it. The rewatchability is maybe not as much there as a lot of more recent, especially A24 and what people call elevated horror films, which I think this is really a stretch to call it elevated horror, because usually the elevated horror plays with the themes and the subtext, and this, you really can't say the addiction thing is in the subtext. It's just beating you in the face with it.
Yeah, for sure. And the ending was obviously the best part. Also, the kid, Riley, what happened to him was brutal. Like, they did hold no punches against him, and that's the most memorable part. Were there enough kills to say our favorite kill? I only remember one.
Dude stabbing himself in the head.
Yeah.
That's it.
But also, we talk about
well, she killed her dad, right?
Yeah, her dad.
No, he was still alive. Remember when the friend comes back to the house and he's sitting there holding his neck, breathing, and then when she's walking through the hospital after she's been hit, she sees her dad walking out.
So really, the best kill is Mia at the end.
Yeah,
probably.
Yes,
there's 3 kills: Mia, the friend, and the guy when he stabs himself in the face. Because the guy stabs his friend, kills him, then stabs himself in the face, and then
in the beginning,
that's true.
But you know nothing about those characters, so you don't really care.
He's the one that shows up later, though, right? When the one guy that has the hand was one of the guys at the party. I can't remember.
I don't know. Yeah.
The guy with the blonde hair. I felt like he was at that party, but maybe not. I don't know. It wasn't good enough for me to pay that close attention.
Yeah,
somebody that she knew the guy that did the thing.
Yeah. Also, when we talk about overhype, you know what else was overhyped? Barbarian. But you know what else? It fucking delivered.
Oh, Barbarian ruled. Love it.
Because the hype was
that movie's 3 times better than Talk to Me.
I hold that to a certain standard, more recency bias too, because it's been the last 2 years. But that was something that I was like, everybody, you got to watch. TJ, you're like, you got to watch it. Everybody, you got to. I'm like, I drug my feet a little bit, then I watch. I'm like, yeah, this is fantastic. But that's because it takes you somewhere you're not expecting it to go, unlike Talk to Me, where it goes exactly where the fuck we thought it was going to go. So let's go around with our rankings. So I can't remember what I gave it when I originally watched it, but the more I've thought about it, the more we've talked about it, I think I'm going to go 2.5. That's generous. That's letting you know that I will watch it again, reevaluate, but I'm going to go 2.5. John?
So one other thing that they did that was really not like kids at all. So, they tap into this whole game of, playing possession, hot potato, and all with the hand. Any kid that's that age, this 2023 doing that, or 2022, what's the first thing they're going to do if they figure that out? They're going to get on TikTok or YouTube and record it. They're going to put it on the internet. So you're telling me they're not telling I get it, it's a movie, but that automatically is another dumb thing. But yeah, so
there were definitely some snitches at those parties.
Exactly. So if you took Flatliners and then you took Euphoria and they had an ugly ass baby, that's what this movie is. It's Flatliners, not as good. It's Euphoria, not as good, and it's an ugly baby that comes out.
So just the Flatliners remake? Is that what it is?
Just pretty much, yeah. Flatliners remake. Yeah, I didn't like it. I'll give it 2 points just for the cinematography and acting. So 2 out of 5. Nah.
Yeah, fair. Kellen, mustache.
This is probably going to be maybe controversial. I don't know. I give it a 1. It just at no point did I enjoy any part of this movie. Would I watch it again? Absolutely not. Was the cinematography great? No, it wasn't, because it was just like every other movie shot just like this. It was nothing original, nothing new, other than the idea of having a hand that shake this hand and say, talk to me. I mean, like I said, I thought the premise was great and the execution was horrid. This was the same execution as if a stormtrooper tried to shoot somebody. It's just going to miss all over.
All right, TJ. Bring it up.
That's gotta be real.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's just slightly over what Jay said. I would give it a 3 out of 5. With opportunity to reevaluate up or down. Probably more likely down than up. But yeah, that's where I stand.
All right, that makes it a 2.1. So that's a 2. Talk to me. Sorry, A24. Sorry, everyone on Rotten Tomatoes. But our opinions don't matter. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to wherever you're listening to this podcast. Follow us on Instagram. If you have Amazon Music, I made a playlist featuring artists, scores, and songs from the movies we've talked about, including Talk to Me, which has a fantastic soundtrack. That's something we didn't mention. It's got a great soundtrack. It's mostly like hip hop, but it's great. But I've already put that stuff on there too. So go check that out. And come back next week where we're going to talk about a movie that's probably going to get a lower rating than this one, Shaun of the Dead.
Ugh.
Just an awful, terrible movie. All right. All right. So sign off. I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And until next time,
Keep it spooky. And don't talk to hands.
Talk to the hands. Yeah. Okay. Before we go, because I gotta go watch the Titans. When Kellen was speaking, I came up with an idea. Kellen, I'm going to start listing off movies, and you tell me if you would rather watch this movie or Talk to Me. Okay. And we'll see which one's which. Also, if you're still listening to this, thanks. We do have after bits we started doing. I think sometimes better than the entire episode itself. But
the only thing with this test, though, is the chances are like probably over 50-50 that Kellen's never watched the movie that you're referencing.
No, I'm guaranteed.
No, these are only movies he's seen. Only movies he's seen.
Serbian film's going to be.
Oh
God!
I know that you would watch that one over any other movie. But so I'm gonna list a couple movies. Kellen, you tell me if you'd rather watch Talk to Me or the movie that I speak of. Okay. Serbian film. No, I'm just kidding. It's not on there. I didn't say that. It's the only movies we've talked about. So Halloween 2. Halloween 2. Would you rather watch Halloween 2 or Talk to Me?
I would watch Halloween 2 every day.
Good man.
This is going to get steadily harder, I think. All right. Creep Show.
Because at least the Ted Danson, Leslie Nielsen part is enjoyable.
Okay. Scream 6.
Scream 6, but only because of what's her face. I'll watch anything that she's in.
What's her face? Wait.
Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega. Yeah, I'm terrible with names.
Okay, The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, see, that's the same problem because the cast of both is terrible. It's I don't care about either cast. You know what? Probably this one because at least this one didn't make me want to throw up.
Okay,
like all the
that's one shaking. For Talk to Me.
Hot take. So far, I've agreed 100% with everything Kellen said.
All right.
Wow. Damn.
That's 4-1 for Australia. All right. Halloween Kills.
Halloween Kills just because at least there's some cool deaths in it. At least I still care about Laurie Strode.
Your stuttering is killing me. Like
you're giving me an impossible task. It's the mustache. Okay. It's weighing my top lip down so much.
2 more. The Ritual.
I thought we were supposed to be friends. The Ritual.
Okay. Do you remember when we watched that movie and I asked if you would help me if I was being held at gunpoint in a store and you said no? You remember that?
I would dive in front of the bullet and to not have to watch this movie again.
All right. One more. Would you rather watch Talk to Me or Halloween Ends?
Talk to Me.
Damn.
I just it ruined the franchise.
Oh,
it
come
ruined
on.
the franchise for me. It ruined the franchise.
That's the only one I didn't agree with you on, sir.
It was steaming.
I would watch
see
Halloween
the steam coming off of the poop pile that was Halloween Ends.
There you have it, folks. Kellen, what? 1, Two. Two. So you would watch it over Halloween Ends and one of the others. So okay. Well, that's better than I thought it was going to be.
Halloween Ends and
Blair Witch.
Blair Witch.
Blair Witch. Yeah.
Yep.
Halloween Ends or Talk to Me, but it has Franklin from Texas Chainsaw Massacre in it.
Oh
Blowing
God.
strawberries all across the screen.
Oh, Franklin may be the worst character in cinema history. Oh my God. You know what? I would probably dress up as Michael Myers from Halloween Ends and write a musical about it than to have to watch Franklin be in any other film.
Damn.
Bravo. All right. Well, I'm going to go watch some football. Thanks for staying late. And we'll see you when we see you. And all you guys, I'll see you when you see you. I'll see you next week.
See y'all.
Twice.
See y'all later.
Oh, yeah.